Welcome to Vialet Studio, where Vialet and her guests share stories of their passions, inspirations, and spiritual journeys. Vialet creates a sacred and fun space for individuals to be able to share information about themselves, their work, and their community. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet. Vialet Rayne.
Welcome to Vialet Studio. Thanks for joining us today. I have my good friend. I call her my friend. I'm going to accept her as my friend, Carm.
Oh, yes.
I had the wonderful pleasure to meet her at a women's retreat last fall, and she did a reading for me. And those of you that know me, I don't get readings that often, and I'm really kind of picky on who, but I was really drawn to Carm at the retreat. And so Nikki and I both got a reading from her and got some insights, and then we couldn't wait to get her on the show. So Carm, thanks for being on the show and joining us today.
Well, I'm very excited to be here, Violet, and I just love your energy. So yes, we're friends.
I'm just going to claim you just as part of my friend group. Carm lives in Colorado Springs, so she's down south of Denver, so not as close as I would love for her to be, but I'm sure she's happy where she's at. And so I know you have a lot of balls in the air and lots of stuff going on. You have products, you see clients, you teach classes. I'm trying to get you to teach classes at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. So talk to us a little bit about your journey. How did you get down this path of spirituality, and what brought you to do what you do today?
Well, it was kind of I call it the light in the storm. So I, in 2009, I had lost everything because of the financial crisis that hit. And I was always told my whole life I was an intuitive, and I would laugh at people and go, no, I'm not. That's so-and-so over there. So I ended up taking a Reiki class because a friend moved in and she needed a 6th person in this class. And my first question was, what do you want me to do and why? And that actually opened the door, I call them the floodgates to all my gifts. And with that, I went into from Reiki, I went into healing touch, became certified in 2.5 years, which is kind of a feat because it's a lot of work and 5 classes, etc. And through that time, I was working at the hospital because they like us to, practice. So I ended up going and volunteering at UC Health Memorial, which was just Memorial Hospital then. And they allowed us to be in the oncology, and then they moved us into all floors. And so I worked with the very sick. And while I was doing that, I was getting more messages than you can imagine, couldn't give them. So when I saw clients at home, I would give them the messages, and I found out it was accurate, along with my healing was good. And through that, I decided to step into my God-given gifts about 4 years ago fully, where I decided to get a business card that says medium, psychic, healer. And I do all that. And through that, I have a teaching degree. So I thought, time to teach. 2 years later, I was told it was time to teach. My guides and angels always talk to me, and they kind of have to hit me over the head to get me to do things. So I was hit over the head, and I opened up an intuitive training classes, and now I'm teaching mediumship. And I also have a formal circle group. We meet twice a month and through Zoom right now, and we're going to have a live group too in Colorado Springs.
I love that. I love that. It's funny how spirit has to hit us all over the head sometimes to get us to pay attention, right? Because we're like, no, I don't have time for that. Or no, that's not what I'm supposed to do. And they're like, no, but you are. And so I love how they push us. And, those that are watching, just so that you know, healing touch is a beautiful modality, but the requirements to get certified are a lot more than just going and taking a Reiki class, because most people are familiar with Reiki, and you go take a class for a few days and you get a certificate and then you're certified to do that. But healing touch is not that way.
Mm-mm. Not for the weak of heart. It takes, you do 5 levels of classes, 100 clients documented. You turn in at the 4th level, between the 4th and the 5th level, you turn in 100, those 100 clients, documented 2 case studies, a minor case study. You have to read about 15 books, I believe, in that time period. So it's not for the weak of heart, but it goes by quickly. I feel like I have a master's degree in energy work. That's what I feel like. And I also am a medical Reiki master. I continued on to finish up my Reiki, because I do believe they kind of go hand in hand. And yeah, it's a nurse's program. And so with the nurses, they like documentation and they love verbiage and they love description. So.
Well, and that's why I believe a lot of the medical profession is really open to healing touch. Not that they're not open to Reiki, but they really respect the process because they have an understanding of the requirements and what it takes to do that.
Well, it's interesting. I was told by one group, healing touch on the West Coast is what most people accept. They have Reiki too. In the hospital communities. East Coast, it's more Reiki, and in the middle, it's both.
Wow, that's fascinating. I can see that, though. I can definitely see that. So what was that experience like working in a hospital area where you're providing healing, but you can't provide messages?
Well, it's really interesting because it doesn't matter if you give the messages or not. If you do the work, the higher self will know. I love a hospital setting. I feel like I'm at home, which is very strange. And I love being in the hospital. That's my favorite setting to do healing touch because it does affect the people. I got to walk all floors. So I was in ICU, down to labor and delivery, down into pre-op, post-op. And I got to see the shift that every client I saw, I would see 5 clients a day, and when I would volunteer, and I could see their shifts. And without giving the messages, if they were open and I felt like it was a way I could say it without saying, hey, I'm getting a message for you, I'd say something to them. Right. And but it was a wonderful way to be trained in energy, and especially when the body is sick. It's a great way to see the change and the shift once you have applied the work. And I had so many great stories. I love that hospital, and got to see the work in a deep level at the hospital.
I love that. And what most people don't know is you can request, in most cases, some cases, to have a healer be present with you before and after to support
Absolutely.
you. And people don't know that. A lot of people don't realize. And I know that you've requested permission several times to be there for a client.
Well, it's very interesting because if you go into an operation, you really want to receive energy work because you're going to clear the balance the chakras, clear the energy. And with that, you'll go through that operation better, less side effects. And if you're there after the post-op, you're able to take off the drugs they give you, the anesthesia, the stress from the operation. And if you're in the middle where you get to be in the operating room, which I have not yet done, but I'm certified to be there, you can be behind the sterile screen and you can flow the Reiki, and the doctors appreciate it. They work better. The patient gets a better outcomes that they have found out. And they're starting to promote that. So if you do have something going on and you want a healer, you can tell your doctor, I want this person to come to the hospital. Even the Catholic hospitals will let you come in. I had a woman who was had a brain aneurysm. Her sister brought me in, and I saw her at least 2 to 3 times a week, just doing healing touch. She did not make it, but she was calmer during that whole period. And it does make a difference, really does.
I believe that. I always think it, it's very supportive of what's going on, excuse me, medically, right, for the client and for everyone involved, right? Just setting that space and
Now, even in the hospice work, when you do it, you're really actually there to hold the energy of the family around the person going, to calm the patient, calm the person leaving. And you're there to also bring clarity to the family of what's really going on and to bring peace.
I love that. I love that. Well, along with healing, let's talk about mediumship and psychic abilities, because I know there's a little bit of a difference there. There's similarities, but there's a difference. Can you share with us your perspective on what the difference is?
Sure. So what I tell my clients and my students is a psychic is a person who goes up to floor 4 to move up to this level, and you're reading the energy, past, present, future of the person in front of you, the situation, things come in. So they come in at this level. Now, not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychic. So a medium has to go to floor 10, way up there, create a space for the loved one to come to the middle ground, and you're at the middle ground also. That's why it's called a medium. You're at the middle medium point. And a good medium goes up, gathers information, and then channels it through her or him, or the artists are mediums. There's some medium artists that are amazing. So they channel it and then actually communicate it to the person in front of them. And as a good medium, you should have evidence. It's not like, gee, your mom really loves you. Gee, is your mom named this? And does she look like this? She has a really small waist and her personality is this. And gosh, she hands me these pearls, but they're not pearl earrings or pearl necklace, loose pearls. Do you understand that? And the evidence is always brought forth when it's good. So you know they're there. And
I love that.
Well, I had a laugh. I had a funny incident the other day. I had a friend over here this weekend, and her sister-in-law was visiting from above. She kept following us. And I'm like, oh man, I'm not really open. Well, finally, she just kept bugging me. And I opened up and I said, okay, your sister-in-law, she's here. Does she look like this? Never met her before. Yes. And I go, did she die of this? Yes. And I go, she kept showing me evidence who she was, because she really wanted my friend to believe she was there. So I go, she's showing me a macrame bracelet and it has 2 little beads inside. And she's like, oh my God, that's what she wore all the time. So it's all about the evidence. And once the client gets the evidence, they will listen to the messages.
I love that. I've connected to spirits here and past, or energies, guides, guardians, all my life since I was a child, because they used to wake me up in my sleep to talk to me because I could hear them. And so I remember as a child, to me, it was sometimes nightmares, because like, why are these beings coming and waking me up and talking to me? So I've never had formal training. They just show up for me. So I'm what I call natural. They just come in and I share information and I talk to them. And so I've always wanted to have a class and training. So I'm still hoping.
I think get it on the schedule. I feel like it. And it would be a 2-day class. I think if we did it on a weekend, we can do it. It would be a 2-day class, probably 6 hours each day. And are you thinking more medium or more psychic driven, or a little bit of combination?
I think the center could use both, but I think, some people are, I'm pretty good in my psychic abilities. I've always really looked for the next step. And we get a lot of people coming in and asking for mediums and asking for classes on mediumship, because
I would love, my favorite class is teaching mediumship. And the aha moments people have during my classes, they're like, I think I can maybe communicate. By the time they're done, they're like, how did that happen? And I teach in a way that we identify how they perceive. Everybody perceives differently. And what we also do is identify how to build a language for you to understand what the person up above is saying and communicating. So you create a symbol language that may mean something to you, but you may not understand why they're communicating it, but the person in front of you, like the woman who handed me the pearls, the loose pearls, that language, she actually just handed me the pearls. I go, well, she's handing me loose pearls. Do you understand that? She goes, well, at my mother's funeral, we gave everybody loose pearls.
Wow.
So it's about identifying and not being afraid to say what you see, speak it out, because you know what, we're going to fail and it's okay to fail. So I teach that too. No fear. Just go ahead and be yourself and bring in the messages, and everybody perceives differently. Just like as we educate our kids, we have to figure out what's the best way to educate them, what's the best tools to bring to educate them.
Absolutely, because we all learn a little differently. We all grasp
Mhm.
information differently. That's definitely part of my process when I teach is we don't all learn or take information in the same way. So I've got to provide it in several different ways to accommodate everyone in the room so that everyone has an opportunity to receive the information.
I think it's such an important thing to do, Violet. That's what makes you a great teacher. That's what I strive to do, is to create the knowledge of how they perceive, and also the balance of being comfortable in perceiving and receiving. And we have fun. I do fun games, and people, I had one gal who wanted to be a medium, but she realized she was more of a psychic. She was a more body intuitive reader. So she reads the body and understands what they're lacking, what they're needing, the sickness, if there is any. So she's a medical intuitive. There's lots of different, your gifts are your gifts. And I do believe we all can talk to spirit, and we can all talk to our loved ones if you're open and you understand.
Yeah, I believe that too. But you got to trust yourself. A lot of times we dismiss it. That didn't happen, or that's crazy. That's and then we just go on, and spirit's like, oh my gosh.
Hello. Well, and they do throw messages at you. Like this poor woman this whole weekend was throwing things at me like, come on, open up. I want to give this message. Right. By the time I did it, it was free flowing in. Once you accept it, it free flows in.
Yeah. And they're so excited when you can hear them and they can get that message to somebody that they've been waiting to communicate with, right? They're like, oh my gosh, here, and tell them this and tell them this and share this with them. I just love that process.
I do too. It's so much when you get a good communicator. Not all spirits are good communicators, I will say that. Personalities flow like in life. There's shy ones and there's great communicators, and in death the same thing. So it's kind of depends on your personality what shows up and how they communicate. So some pull teeth to get information, but they're standing there in front of you like, okay, what do I do?
Well, as a medium, we tend to also have those experiences where we're supporting families that they have a loved one or someone in their life that's transitioning, right? And one of the courses I teach at the center is Angelic Reiki, and they have a death dying course that's going to be coming out, which is a soul wivery course for people that do Reiki and the transition. So I've never stepped into that world, but I'm getting really excited as I pull resources and I look at stuff, because I believe it's a very sacred process when somebody's transitioning. And our real goal is to help the family and also help make it easier for that loved one to transition. Share with us some of the experiences you've had in that process of helping families and people in their transition.
Well, it was really interesting. This one story comes to mind. I was, at Memorial, and there was a man who was in the ICU unit, and they said, well, don't bother going in there. He's really dead, but we're keeping him alive so the family can come in. And there were some family members in there. I'm like, and I looked and I'm like, I'll just go in and say hi. So the poor man was on a ventilator, and it was very, if you've ever seen somebody on a ventilator, it can be very shuddering. The body is shuddering because it's being forced air in. And so the family was very distraught because, you know, first they're losing their father, their husband. And so there was 2 children there my age and the mother. So I went in and told her what I did and said, can I help? And she goes, well, I guess it won't hurt. So by the time I started doing the work of healing touch and Reiki, flowing it, started talking to the family about him because I knew he was in the room standing there. I go, tell me how you met your husband. So what I did was I started just bringing in the stories so he could hear them. And then I'd ask the kids, tell me a great story about your dad. I would love to hear what he was like as a father. And the time I was done, the daughter goes to her mother, Dad, Mom, look at Dad. He has stopped shuddering and he was calm. So it's all about recognizing the situation. And he was calm when I left. The family was very connected to him instead of feeling like scared.
Right, right. And it helps him to know that they're okay, right? And that
Yeah.
they're really worried about the loved ones that are here. You know, I've had people ask me, do you think they wait for certain moments? And I said, absolutely.
Mhm.
They choose, you know, when the family goes to get coffee, or after they leave to go home, or when the daughter arrives that's flew in for, you know, 20 hours or whatever to get there. They know they're waiting for that time.
Oh, yeah.
Or the date, right? I have people ask me, do you think they knew that they were going to pass on this date? Because to our family, it's this. And I'm like, absolutely. They're very much aware.
You know, I think death is as amazing as birth, and I've seen both. And it's just, I'm in awe. I'm always in awe because it's such a, like you said, it's a sacred moment. And it's just educating the people not to be afraid of that word death, because it's such a, they think it's so final, but yet it's not. And so I think our job, like you're creating, is space for people to understand. It's just saying, you know what, they're going to step into the other room and someday you will join them. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be okay. They're going to be free of their body, free of the pain they're suffering, if they're suffering. And it's beautiful. It is truly, because they're going up and being with spirit and being in their spiritual form, and getting rid of that body that, you know, has taken some abuse probably. And, you know, sacred. It's just sacred.
It really is. So we're still kind of on the outskirts of COVID, and we've had a lot of people through the last year and a half that have passed in hospitals or different places where family and friends couldn't be there. And a lot of people have been concerned that they were by themselves. And it's been in my experience, they're not alone, even if we're not with them. Have you found that as well, Carm, in your experience?
You walk in and the room is packed. They just can't see him. And I'm like, excuse me, I got to get through here. I always feel the family shows up, and sometimes it's intimate moments with a few in the room. And sometimes it's a party going on and the party hats are on and they're leaving soon. When I see party hats, to me, that means death is within a few hours, because they're celebrating them coming home.
I love that. I love that. You know, I know before I stepped fully into my spirituality, I had a fear of death, you know, what happens. And I'm not afraid of it anymore, because I know there's something after this. And this is just a blip in a whole process. It's just like a small vacation or something in a big process.
You know, if more people could accept that, if, you know, we don't escape death and taxes, they're both, you know, imminent. And if we could accept death, we can live such a more fuller life. And I love, as being mediums and psychics, it does give us the freedom to put our feet downstream and say, hey, whatever happens, I'm okay. And I think the more we can teach ways to make the soul understand, they're going to be okay. It's going to be all okay. That's kind of our mission, I think, as mediums. Don't you think?
I think it is too, and help the family. I mean, there's always questions, or at least I find that with most people, there are questions like, are they okay? Where are they at? Did they know I was there? Did they, have they forgiven me? There's usually some questions in their mind for that level.
I think the questions are such an important thing, and they usually bring, I find when I do a reading, they usually they answer the question before the client asks. Somehow, some way, I just communicate like, okay, he's talking about this. Do you understand that? Yes. So I think the more we can answer the unknown, and there's still a lot out there we don't know because we only get a glimpse, but the amazing things I get to hear and the things that keep repeating are the colors of where they're at, the peace that it's brought, and the communication is from here to here. No words spoken.
Yeah, that beautiful connection that we have. I tell people, when you pass, you're not in this physical body. You're not in a container. You're kind of free, flying, floating. I think that's why we like to meditate, because it reminds us when we're not in our physical body to fly, to be free, to have no limitations, right? And we label each other like, you are Carm, I'm Vialet. When you're on the other side, there's not those labels. So when we have people that are like, well, I want to know what my guide's name is, they find it somewhat humorous because they're like, what does it matter what my name is? Because we don't communicate that way when we're not in these bodies. We don't have labels. We're energy, and there's a vibration and a feeling of who we are versus, oh, hi, Carm, it's nice to see you, right? I feel like it's so different on the other side.
It's a spirit. It's just, like you said, if you understand energy, it's all energy. Everything here in this world and up there is all energy. But we get labeled, we get weighed down by the labeling, the need to know, and then the need not to know. I mean, I think we could walk in this lifetime looking at things as energetic, our words, our actions, down to, glasses have energy, everything has energy, and the way you treat yourself, the way you treat others. And up there, it's even better because it's free form. I want to think it's free form. Don't you think?
Right. I think it is. And we want so much to control everything and limit who we are and what this is. And there's no limitations. There's possibilities.
No fear.
Freedom and all of that. And so I think that's why when people have near-death experiences, they don't want to come back, because that feeling of freedom and where they're at is so powerful.
Well, clarity too. They get a lot of clarity of what, the things that happened in their life, the good things, the bad things, all that. The clarity comes in too. And I think that's another way they see, like, the people sitting in front of us. They saw how they helped them or hurt them.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that too. Where we've caused pain, where we've caused frustration, I think we get a real good glimpse of that, is whether we realized it or recognized it while we were here. I definitely think we see it when we go to the other side. That's why when people have had really difficult relationships with a family member or loved one, and they come back and they're trying to apologize, I'm sorry, and the person here's having a hard time with that, it's like they've gotten clarity on, they may not have understood what they caused when they were here, but they do now, right?
I don't know if you think this or not. I have to ask you this. Like I see some of the people who were like the negatives in your life, maybe they were playing a role to help grow your soul. So
Yeah.
therefore they chose to be the alcoholic father who was abusive verbally or mentally or spiritually or physically. And they stepped into that role for your own spiritual growth.
Yeah, I do believe that. Neil Donald Walsh's children's book, The Angel. Have you ever seen that one?
No, I'm gonna have to write that.
It's a great book. And so the angel goes to God and says, I want to experience forgiveness. And, the stories around, but why? You're in this perfect divine place. Why do you want to do that? Well, I want to experience what it's like to forgive someone. And then this other angel steps up and says, I love you so much that I want to be the person that does that for you. But please remember, I'm doing it because I love you, even, right? And so it's a great story around the same idea of the people that may have been the most difficult in our lives, the most challenging. What if they're the souls on the other side that we love and they love us so much that they volunteered to be part of our experience for the same idea you just said, for our evolution and our growth, to have that experience, whatever that looks like for us. And
I try to let people understand that a little better too when don't you think, to kind of explain that to them?
yeah,
I say, think of it this way.
what if this is what's really going on? What if this is the possibility and you've just forgotten? You've just forgotten.
And I think, too, like I so agree with you on that, because the more you can see the person as not a nemesis and you're not a victim and you're learning, you're more of a student, guess what? Your spirit grows tenfold. But if you hold on to the father who created the alcoholism or who was abusive and you play the victim, guess what? Your father's work was not for any good. He sacrificed his soul for you not to grow.
There's some real truth. There's some real truth in that. I don't know about you, but for me personally, the first part of my life was very, very difficult. It was not easy, right? It didn't have easy. But guess what? If I'd have had an easy life, would I be where I'm at today?
No,
would I have grown the way that I have? And we've all had people in our lives that, from our perspective, and I believe it's our perspective because we've not walked in their shoes, but my friend such and such, she's never had hardship. Her life's been so easy. Well, is she still the same person she was? Has she grown? Because I believe those challenges, those obstacles push us to grow, to expand, to evolve to who we are today. That makes us stronger, smarter, gives us clarity, brings in that passion for life because we've lived through it, we've survived it. I love life, I want to do it again type thing. So I think all of that, years ago, I used to think that we came here for lessons, and I don't think it's lessons. I love the word experience. We come here to experience all of these things because it helps us evolve and grow and get to know ourselves from a deeper perspective, to know others, to know what this world's about from a big perspective.
I so agree with you. I so agree. And, as healers, we have to do our own healing to do the work. So without having I think the best healers today have had a harder life growing up. They've experienced the darkness through many different ways. And the people who are drawn to me are people who've had the same hurts I feel, or have had the same experience, but they haven't had the awakening yet.
I absolutely agree. I find that in my clients, like they've
Yeah.
walked similar roads that I've walked. So I have a compassion and understanding for where they are. So I'm able to support them. And lately in my healings, I don't know if you've seen this, but I've had a lot of people come in who have this heavy weight of their mothers or their grandmothers or their fathers or their great
Uh-huh.
grandfathers or whatever. And I've come to the conclusion in the last month or two that we're here. What if we go do a healing and dedicate it to our mother? What if we go and do a healing and dedicate it to our father? Because the
Mm.
reality is, our grandparents, our great grandparents, and probably our parents didn't have the resources that we have today. They didn't know how to heal, they didn't know how to let it go. And what happens with that stuff is we pass it from generation to
Absolutely.
generation. So, what if we step up and go, Carm, today I'd like to schedule a healing for my mother.
Mm.
I want to be the vessel, the physical vessel for her, whether she's living or past, to help
That's beautiful.
lighten her burden. If she needs to cry, cry for her. If she needs to, whatever she needs
Mm.
to, do that for her in the physical and allow her to have that release, right? Through you.
I actually love that, because our ancestors have carried a lot of the same pain we have carried, and we're here to break the patterning for our future ancestors, our future children, grandchildren. And the only way you can do that is by releasing the pain of the past. And what you described is letting go, letting them let go of the hurt they caused or the suffering they had. It's beautiful. I mean, Violet, that is, I mean, profound.
It is. And the people that I've met with and I've talked to about, they're like, really? And I said, sign up, go to a healing. And, you know, if your mom is not able to cry or your father's not able to cry, but you can feel they need to cry, then cry.
You know, it's really interesting too. I had something come up recently. I kind of had an aha moment. I have a lot of people come to me because they want cords cut from people. I need to cut this cord. Well, the more I thought about it, and I have a person I work with too. We talk about things like this. And you know, when you cut the cord, guess what's still there? The root.
It is.
So what? Cutting the cord, why not unplug the energy?
Well, I have found through my cord cuttings, because like you, I've done cord cuttings for years through the mystery schools, have been trained to cut cords. And you cut the cords, but there's still contracts, there's still
Mhm.
attachments, there's some other things connected. So
Yeah, clear
I'm
it out.
actually cut cords, and then my fifth session is to go into the Akashic and remove all contracts, all brands, all these things that
Oh, I love
people
that.
do, so that it's clean. It's really clean. It removes all the remaining stuff within the records, and healing happens, and it just feels really complete. Because with you, you can cut the cords, right? You've had this attachment, this emotion that's happened, or this relationship, and now you have this cord and you remove it, but that contract's still there, right?
Yeah.
What it was set up to be is still there until you heal it, release it, accept it. I feel like people are very controlling in relationships sometimes, and there's other things that come in besides just cords and attachments. But you know, I've found that I've had clients that feel like they've been branded. You're mine. You know, where somebody's touched them and said, "You belong to me." There's this etheric thing that happens. So, you know, relationships should be free flowing and loving and compassionate and accepting, but we also have those unhealthy relationships that have so many more pieces, so many more layers.
Well, and I think too, it's a walk and learning what a healthy relationship looks like, and not mirroring the past relationships of unhealthy parenting. Like when you look at your parents, a lot of people marry somebody who's like their parent, one of the parents. And that's your comfort zone because that's what you grew up with and you know it. So therefore you go that way. So instead you have to recognize, is this relationship a healthy one, or was it? And do I that, or do I want more, a more healthy look? And I think some people find each other to clear the unhealthiness of both their families. They come together and they work together to get rid of the past for both families. I think there's some soul work on that too.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Because I know with me growing up, my parents had not a healthy relationship. And as a child growing up and they loved each other. They loved each other passionately, but their passion sometimes was unhealthy, right? And they had deep passion for each other that would turn into explosions, right? Because they didn't know how to control the energy of it. So you grow up and you start relationships and you mimic what you knew, what you thought love was, what it looked like. And some people like me, I had an aha moment of, what are you doing? Like, what is this behavior for? But there are others out there that never have that aha moment that go, okay, wait, what, let's step back. What's going on here, right? Let's have something a little more healthy. And so I think all of that creates different attachments and cords and the energy around it, right? It has purpose, but it's also meant for healing and releasing and letting go and growing. But I just see so much of our parents, our families, they didn't have the resources we have today. They didn't have the belief systems we had today.
Aren't we lucky?
We are lucky. And I know my family shows up every time I do a healing because they're like, yes, because you know how to do it. We didn't, right? So I just think that's really, really powerful. So
I agree with you. It's important to heal the past of the family, generations, ancestors. I love recognizing what serves you and what doesn't, and recognizing how you were hurt when you were young and how to shift it and not to choose that. And I think also, that's how you grow, and also leaning into the dark.
Yeah.
The dark. You need to lean into that dark so you can see why you're there.
Well, and it's there to, I know for me, I teach a class on shadows, and people come into that and they're like, okay, I'm going to get rid of my shadows. And I'm like, it's really not how this works. You got to face them. You got to embrace them. You got to love them. They came in to protect you. They came in to help you grow and expand. It's not about closing the door on them and leaving them. That's what we do that's wrong. It's about, oh, that's a part of me. That's part of who I am. So where did it come from? Where was it rooted from? What needs healed? What do I need to embrace and love in this aspect? What do I need to touch in on? And so darkness is part of it. We all have it. We all have pieces of ourselves that we wished were different or that were not part of us, but they're created for purpose and reason.
I am so with you on that. And I think the more people can lean into the uncomfortable. So when I teach my mediumship, I go, you have to be okay to be uncomfortable, because you're going to have to put your feet in the fire to lean in so you can grow.
It's really true. So talk to us about some of the classes and programs that you offer that people could connect with no matter where they're at.
I do a lot of Zoom classes right now. First off, I haven't put something, I'm going to be teaching an intuitive training. I haven't got it on the books yet. I do have enough students. I just haven't, I'm having a, not a life crisis, but a busy crisis. So my summers are usually for me to travel, and I'm going to Sun Valley Wellness Festival. I'm going to be their only reader there this year. They've been kind of asking me like, please, Carm, you can come back. Can't you please come back? So I'm trying to figure out my crazy schedule because I have a couple bookings. I'm going to be doing weekend events, but I have an intuitive training class I'm going to do online. I like to teach it in person better. I'll have that probably in September. I would love to set up with you a mediumship class. And I teach also, once you take a mediumship class, and depending, sometimes the people from the psychic class can join. I have a circle group, and we meet online, and we're going to be meeting in person since COVID is waning. And I have an office for that. It really helps grow. A good medium should be in circle for at least 2 years, they say. And it grows your skills. You learn a lot. You learn different things, different techniques. You grow your symbol base. So I teach that, and it's a sacred group of women who are very lovely, all walks of life, all faiths, all non-faiths, doesn't matter. But we're there for one purpose, is to grow our intuitive and mediumship skills. So I have that also. So I would love to get something on the books with you. So, because I have my natural product business takes me to the farmers markets in the summer. I do have some helpers. I'm hoping that I can free myself up so I don't have to go to the market. I have a sea sponge natural product business love the products. They're fun, they're organic. And Carmel Del Mar sea sponges and natural products, but it does take away from my spiritual side, and I need that. They both are fun. So I have a hard time letting go of one or the other, and both have my energy. But my spiritual work is 75% of Carm, 25% to Carmel Del Mar. But so we do need to get something on the books. And I think it would be a blast. I haven't been in Denver in a long time. I mean, since COVID. My daughter lives in Denver, and I've only been to her house once, and she's been there a year. But she's here a lot, so we don't go up to Denver too much. So
I understand that, and I'm looking forward. Next week we get to meet, look at some of your products, so we can have some of those in the store. So we'll definitely look at the calendar and see where we can kind of connect, because I would love to have your products in the store and have you come up and teach occasionally and all your stuff.
I would love there. And these products they are amazing, and the soap lures you in the smells. I even have it's called Serenity soap, but what it is supposedly a chakra balancing soap. So you can scrub yourself clean and open your chakras at the same time. And then I have a sea salt soap that is, if you can't get an Epsom salt bath because you've had a bad energetic day, guess what? Go get in the shower and use that sea salt soap. Takes off all the negative vibes of the day, freshens you, and it smells like the sweet ocean. It smells so wonderful. So
I love that. Well, I'll have to have one of those, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I can't always get in the tub, and I love salt baths for that same reason, just to kind of clear all the stuff that I've gathered throughout the day.
It is my new favorite go-to soap right now, that sea salt soap. I'm like, oh my gosh, every day I use it. So
I love that. I think that would be awesome. Awesome. Well,
goodies with me. I'll be in Violet.
Well, I can't wait. And what I'll do on the video is I'll put your website and your product website under there so that people can check that out. If you have photos of your products and stuff you want to send me, I'll plop them into the video so that we can have it throughout.
I do have I have photos of everything. It's a business I'm trying to get more online than I don't have to spend as much Carm energy. And they're amazing products. And I just got into a store downtown in Colorado Springs called Eclectic. And they have 60 vendors there. I've been there only a month, and I'm the #4 vendor in sales.
Wow. Very
I'm here you go. Make it look pretty and move on.
Right? Great success. How wonderful is that?
Yeah. So
Well,
they for themselves, really. So
I think that is awesome. Well, Carm, I know you're busy today and I'm busy. Thanks for taking some time in your busy schedule and chatting with me.
thank you for inviting me. I just feel very honored to be in your presence, in your lovely room. I'm just loving the vibe in that room. But I look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you so much. It was a fun talk today.
It was. I love connecting. I have a feeling we're going to connect more.
I have a feeling, so I think it's like, yeah.
I have a new friend, guys. I have a new friend. I love new friends. Well, thank you for watching today, and I hope you have a great day, and I hope we see you really soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet and how she can help you discover your spiritual gifts, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com and on YouTube at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. You can also send a personal message to Vialet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you really soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.
Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Come experience the difference at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.